He is on the south side. That's where he is right now. Big stretch, Jesse, for the White Sox here after the 1-5 trip. I really think this will tell us a lot about where they are as a team. Everyone has a bad stretch, 1-5. Every team goes through it. How you going to respond now? That's the question.
Yeah, first time seeing the Guardians since spring training. Crazy. They've got 13 meetings against them, and it's all after, mid-June on. So this is going to be fun. First place on the line. They don't have Jose Ramirez. The White Sox don't have Murakami, so it kind of evens out a little bit, but the Sox play great at home. And just speaking of the stretch that ended poorly with that blown game yesterday in Detroit, Will Venable doubled down on taking Davis Martin out, and for the second day in a row, he brought up the conversation he'd had with Martin. Now, he didn't get into specifics, but it's clear that Martin wasn't exactly fighting to stay in the game. Maybe he understood that there was a lot more traffic in a Davis Martin start than some of his better starts. He was coming off such a bad one. Maybe he felt 6 innings was enough. Now, I'm sure if they said go back out there, he would have done it. But when a manager says in conversations with the player, we decided to make this move, my radar goes up that the player didn't necessarily want to continue, or at least didn't have to be convinced to come out. And I didn't talk to Davis Martin today. The game's over. But for people wondering, it certainly sounded like that was a conversation that went on. But that's the past. You're right. Everybody goes through it. I talked to Walt Weiss when they played the White Sox, and he's like, even us. He's like, I'm waiting. I know it's around the corner. We're going to struggle. It's going to hit us at some point. And it's not a surprise to me to hit the Sox when they played the Yankees without Murakami. And Detroit's on life support, and they got him. That's it.
Is there any way to describe how teams sometimes, Jess, are so good at home and then so bad on the road?
In this case, I would only point to so many young players. In the road, it can be a little bit more difficult. 13 debuts now. But there are years where a veteran team is bad on the road and great at home. And then there's vice versa. Tommy, I really can't put my finger on it. It probably is a bigger headline if you were great on the road and bad at home, because that doesn't make much sense. But sort of a young team struggling on the road. I mean, even the Cubs as a veteran team are struggling on the road. So not really. It's just your normal routine, the ballpark, the mound, everything better at home. More teams, not just the White Sox, are better at home. This is very pronounced, no doubt, Tommy. Sometimes I'll ask a manager or GM about it. Like, are you looking under the hood? Haven't really done that here because it kind of makes sense to me, a young team struggling on the road.
Saw the lineup tonight, and Teal is back. What number is he hitting? Is he hitting third or fourth?
He initially was third, and they moved him to 4. Either place is throwing him right into the fire. I'm surprised, But they just said, look, this is going to be one of our better hitters. We debated where to put him. We're not easing him into it. I asked him straight out, Teal, if he feels like he's going to be behind because these guys have had 3 months of baseball, basically half a season. And he didn't say yes to that. His answer was, I'm fresh at least. Like the grind they've been in, I haven't been in. So maybe that's, they offset. He hasn't had the reps at the major league level, but he's also very fresh, especially for a catcher. So we'll see. I kind of love that they're throwing him right in there at number 4.
How frustrated was he, Jesse, over what went on? Like, they were one of the better stories in spring training, that Italian WBC team. He I think it was a double where he pulled up lame with a hamstring, and initially it was 4 to 6 weeks, and then something else got hurt there. It was all part of it, but he had a setback, and it's been way longer than he thought. Did he talk at all about the frustration of that, and also watching the team and not being able to be a part of this great start?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was one of my questions to him. Was the moment that you had the setback your low point? Because here he is recovering from the hamstring injury, and then the knee pops up. And he said, for a moment, you're down, but you're not out. And so many athletes give that kind of answer. Like you just have to keep going. It's part of baseball. It's part of sports. If he had been out for the rest of the year, that might be a different story, thinking about only next season. But he's like, no, I had to bounce back quickly and just start that rehab process on the knee and get back here. So maybe a moment of frustration, but he knew how important he is to this team. And, just to pivot, Edgar Carroll being sent down, maybe some people are surprised. Here's something you don't see often. Like, he could have cleaned out his locker at noon today. There's no media in there. He's cleaning out his locker at 2:30 when the media is in there. That's a tough interview to do. you've been sent down and just happen to be you're cleaning out your locker as reporters are in there. So Edgar kind of reluctantly met the media, but he was good, certainly not happy. Here's the interesting part. They really don't have anything in particular for him to work on. He just has to get better. He just is not, as Will Venable said, the best version of himself. And even he, when asked, what are you going to work on? He said, just be better. Simple as that. Better at bats. Probably needs to be better defensively. Wasn't the best at the ABS challenges. So there's it. If the numbers increase at AAA, he'll be back up here.
Vargas is playing first base tonight. Do you expect to see more of that, Jess? Gonzalez is not a first baseman. We've seen that. He's also struggling at the plate right now. Are you expecting more of Vargas at first, especially with Mooney still out?
I think it's just going to be the combination you're seeing. Yeah, he kind of made a mistake yesterday throwing home. He should have froze the runner, step on first, that kind of thing, get the out. Didn't do that. I think it's just going to be a combination, and that moves Colson over to third and all that stuff. But I don't think it's going to be any more than we've seen. I think it's all matchup related, and that's something Will Venable mentioned today.
So they're not out on playing him at first then? At this
I don't think so. Not that I've heard. Not that I've heard.
What about, did they talk back into the bullpen stuff with Sir Anthony Dominguez? And then what you do with Grant Taylor? Do you save Grant Taylor for a save situation now, or are you just still saving him for what you perceive as the highest leverage situation of a game?
It's the latter thing right now. They've decided to go that route. I know everyone's down on Sir Anthony Dominguez. It's 4 blown saves. I mentioned this earlier today. It's basically been like kind of one a month, sort of. It's been spread out is my point. His struggles have been spread out. Taylor's definitely the better pitcher, but he also gave up a home run yesterday. And Sir Anthony gave up ground balls through the hole and stuff. They were hard hit. They weren't home runs. So no, they're playing the matchup game, even though Taylor's the best arm. I didn't ask Venable this, but it reminds me of when the Cubs didn't pitch Palencia 2 innings. Taylor could have gone 2, but that would have put him out for this first 2 games, probably of a more important Guardians series. But again, he did give up a home run, and he's given up runs, I think, in like 3 or 4 outings. So it's not like Taylor's completely locked down, but he's certainly the better arm. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to go after an arm in the bullpen for sure next month, if not a starter as well. But there's always bullpen arms in July, even more than starters, and they need one more down there for sure.
Yeah, I thought also the side story of the Sox getting swept by Detroit is, Detroit knows better than anyone how streaky they can be. They can be really good. The Guardians always go on these crazy runs too. They caught the Tigers last year. We've seen it in this division. Did the White Sox by getting swept by Detroit, did they allow Detroit to hang around? And would Detroit now adjust with their plans maybe with Skubal and trading him?
Well, first of all, there's a month to go. So, of course, they could adjust. If they trade him, it's going to be August 1st or 2nd. The deadline this year is the 3rd. So they're going to wait till the last minute. I hope they don't come alive, because about a week ago on ESPN.com, I wrote exactly this. They're deader than dead, the Detroit Tigers. So that's the kiss of death.
When
right.
are you going to learn? Jesse, you said this about the opposite about the Cubs. I've seen enough. You should do a feature of I've seen enough takes that may go really wrong,
Jesse
but how
Merck.
I feel today.
Yeah, Merck and Jesse should start a...
What are you doing?
Well, this is the problem when they ask you to make bold predictions. I make bold, bad ones. And so I think here's the answer to your question. And it's a cop-out. Maybe they found some life. I'm not sure there's enough time. There's enough runway. They really would have to go on a run. Tommy, was 11 games still under? Did you say? I heard you mention earlier.
Yeah, I think they're 33 and 44, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they're 5 out of the wild card,
Right. They're 5 out with teams to pass. So that's the key. Let's see, a month and a half to go. That's the beauty of this thing. The deadline's pretty late in the whole process, right? Well into the second half is the trade deadline. So the standings will dictate the story. If they're close, they'll probably keep Skubal. But boy, if they're on the edge, that's a tough call. Like the Angels keeping Ohtani was crazy. They weren't really that close. If they're on the edge, that's a tough call, because you can get a haul for Skubal. But that's Detroit's problem. Maybe the Sox may have breathed some life. It's possible, but I still have my doubts.
Did the guys have anything more to say about a red-ass Skubal versus Vassell type of exchange?
No, it didn't come up today. Kind of old news. Didn't come up today. I wasn't with the team on the road, so I'm sure it will be renewed when they play each other, soon enough. But that didn't come up today. But speaking of Vassal, that's my nugget. The wand is now turned into like a double-sided lightsaber. You know how one of the where you can hold the middle and there's two coming out.
Oh yeah,
That's what the wand is huge now. I don't know where he got. He's got
good.
the hat. He's got the wand. He's got the cape. So I don't know if that's in the dugout, but it was in his locker and he was holding it today. So guy's crazy.
Yeah, don't back down. Like every Sox player we've talked to, Jesse, they all credit him for bringing the vibes and being unselfish and being a good teammate, keeping everyone loose. Like that's a great thing.
You know, it's interesting. I heard you earlier talk about, people should love PCA. He's the only animated player on the Cubs. Justin Steele now has joined the team for the next 3 weeks. I don't think it's because to be animated. I think he's working his way back. But Steele kind of has that red ass. Remember that one day where he lit him up. So hey, the more Mike Vassals in the dugout in this day and age of baseball, where it's so workmanlike, and there's no more workmanlike team than the Cubs. I think maybe Justin Steele can have an impact. Who knows? The same way Vassal can. You're out of the line if you have nothing to do but cheer. So we'll see.
You mentioned PCA. Do you have an explanation for why he finds himself again this week at 14th in the All-Star voting?
I mean, not a great one. I'm not sure if it's personal to PCA because there wasn't much movement there. And Andy Pajes is leading all NL outfielders. Andy Pajes, really? He's got 15 homers, but I mean, come on. Ronald Acuna, who's hurt and out, is still in there. And, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But you're right. How can he be that low? I do think there's some polarization outside of Chicago. Forget about Sox fans. We know they're going to hate him. That's fine. But why are baseball fans in general not liking on him, especially considering we're usually a prisoner of recency bias, that kind of thing. So you would think he would get some votes because of his month in June. And you guys probably heard he's the player of the week. Of course he is. So I'm not sure, Tommy, other than honestly, fans sometimes are just knuckleheads when it comes to this stuff. And they perception becomes reality. And he had a bad start. So that's in their head. And he's barked at some people, right? And that's in their head as well. And then they don't vote for him, which doesn't make sense.
Well, look, Brewers fans hate him. Brewers fans have made that known. Our teammates up in ESPN Milwaukee rip him all the time. We heard when he hit that home run in St. Louis, the overrated chance. Cardinal fans, they've been like a resurgent bunch this year after they were really out on their team and they've had a bounce back year. You know what he said about Dodgers fans. He's from L.A., and he in like the way he compared Cubs fans to Dodger fans, and they're not real sports fans. So he has alienated quite a few fan bases. So maybe, and then one good explanation too, Jesse, that I got from one of our fans, I don't know if you were listening, is like Cubs fans right now aren't crazy about their team. I don't know anyone who still votes for the All-Star game anyway, but who's rushing to vote for a bunch of guys on the Cubs these days? I don't even know if Cubs fans are. And is one guy enough to go pick up a ballot? Like, it's not like there's a campaign to get Nico there, or Dansby stinks, Hap stinks. Bregman is a totally underachieved. There's nobody else that you're going to the ballot box for. So maybe just Cubs fans hate their team right now, and they're like, screw them. They're dead ass team right now. I'm not going to vote for anybody.
No, I think you're right. I think the combination of the two things is right. The polarization of some fan bases, and all it takes is a few, and that as well. Think about the other extreme. If the Cubs were in first place by 7-8 games, there is no doubt in my mind PCA would be higher, right? And other Cubs as well. There's no doubt. So I think it's the combination of those things. I do want to address something else that a caller or a tweeter mentioned to you I heard earlier, and I want to analyze this word, streaky. People use this a lot, including us, myself. If we go through the Cubs as we know them, Dansby, known as streaky. Ian Happ, known as streaky. Seiya Suzuki, known as streaky. You know what? Maybe streaky isn't the right word. Maybe the outlier is the Nico Horners in a good year for Nico, who's more we think of Nico as a more consistent player. Like, my point is, if you talk to people in baseball, a lot of good players get their numbers in like a 6 to 8 week span of the season, and that's it. Now, I'm not talking about Judge and Ohtani. I'm talking about just your normal all-star level players. They're not great for 6 months. No, those are the Judges and the Ohtanis. A lot of good players are good for about 6 to 8 weeks. And if you're saying that's what PCA is, well, that's what a lot of players are. And so if streaky is the right word for it, well, a lot of baseball players are streaky. And the reason for that is most of the time you're in bad habits. When you get into a good habit, you try to keep it going as long as you can, 6, 8 weeks, maybe 9, and then you slowly but surely fall into a bad habit. And all of a sudden you're struggling. But a lot of players get their numbers in just a 6 week span.
I think what Waddle and I, though, have viewed with PCA is we hope the days of him looking lost for a long stretch. Like, it's one thing to struggle. It's another, like last year at the end of the year, he looked lost, didn't he, Jesse? Like he just was in his head. You didn't want him up at the plate. He was a guy that was very unproductive, not just streaky in a bad way, I thought. So hopefully, like, him finding more of an on-base thing, like those days of totally being lost offensively will be gone.
Yeah. We've talked about his ceiling being raised. I don't think there's any doubt his floor has come up, right? I absolutely think that's the case with the amount of walks he's taking, the at-bats against left-handed pitching. Maybe each and every year the floor keeps going up and those struggles are less pronounced. So I don't have a problem with the streakiness because I think a lot of players in baseball are streaky.